Okay, and in this video, what we're going to do is continue on our look at the factors of production in general, but more accurately, this is the second video on capital. So we're looking at this factor of production down here, which is capital. So all of this kind of stuff, I suppose, is important to kind of keep in mind what capital actually is. And what capital is anything man-made used in the production of goods and services. So we see that these things here and all of these machines along here are being used to produce cars. So this is the cars are the goods and services, and these machines here are the capital. So we've talked about the importance of capital, and we've said that it essentially is the reason why rich countries are rich, because they have, over periods of time, usually incredibly long periods of time, have added to the capital stock the amount of man-made goods and services, or the amount of man-made things that are used in the production of goods and services, and therefore that allows them to produce more, and as such that allows the people in the country to consume more, and that's the measure of wealth. So I suppose a really important question then becomes is, well, why don't we produce more of it? And the answer is, well, of course we do. So what we're going to talk about, the name given to capital formation, which is making more capital, more buildings, more machines, all that kind of stuff, is investment. Now this is incredibly important, because if ever I ask my students what is investment, they usually say putting money into a business or buying stocks and shares. Now the only thing that investment is the production of more capital goods. Okay, that's what it is. It's nothing to do per se in and of itself of putting money into a business, whatever that means. I mean, that's just a very generic term. But what investment is the production of more capital. Now, let's say you borrow money from a bank to start a business, and with that money, then you buy capital with that. Well, that can be seen as an investment. Now, no capital has necessarily been produced in that case, but you have purchased it for your business. So a looser definition is the production or purchase of capital goods. I just like the production of capital goods simply because it goes to show that more is being produced. So what we're saying is, what we have here is the production of capital. That's what investment is. And when we're talking about capital, we're talking about any kind of machine or anything man-made. And I'm going to kind of relax the idea of machine in a second, that is used to produce goods and services. So this here would be intellectual capital, because it's code, and that can be used to produce goods and services. And this here is human capital. All of these people are actually at a lecture, and it's a medical lecture, and they are increasing their ability to produce medical services. So that's human capital as well. All right. Now, there are two types of investment in very general terms. The first one is gross investment, and the second one is net investment. And the difference between the two we're going to call depreciation. Now again, when I ask people, students in my class, what is depreciation? A lot of the time I will get the answer is the reduction in value of an asset. And that's usually from people that have been studying accounting. And for accountants, that's fine. But we're going to use a very specific definition for each of these three terms: net investment, gross investment, and depreciation. And it's all to do with capital goods. So gross investment is defined as the total amount of capital created in an economy in 1 year. Okay, but the problem is, now I do say money is spent on replacing or repairing capital, but let's just forget about that for a second, and we'll say that the problem is that some capital, particularly of the older capital stock that was in existence in the economy, breaks down and is no longer usable. Okay, so what we're saying here is that this is what depreciation is. The definition that we're going to use of depreciation is the amount of capital which is used up or worn out or broken down in a given year. Now, so if gross investment is the total amount of capital created in a year, and depreciation is the total amount of capital which is destroyed in a year, well then the difference between these two is the change in capital that has occurred, the change in the capital stock that has occurred over the period of time, which is the year. So this is what we're going to talk about. We're going to try and link the three in an equation. Net investment is the amount of extra capital that is created in an economy in 1 year. So net investment equals gross investment minus depreciation. Now I do say extra capital here, but what happens if depreciation is greater than gross investment? Well, then net investment can be negative. So in order to try to make sure that we understand exactly what we're talking about, I think it's usually not a bad idea to try and use symbols and kind of pictures, and so you get a better idea of what the whole concept is. So what we have here is, this is the existing capital stock in the economy, okay? So there's 5 shovels. And then what we're going to say is that 3 new shovels were made. Well, that here, these 3 new shovels is the gross investment. Okay, the amount of capital that was created in an economy in 1 year. So then the question becomes, well, are we 3 shovels better off? Are we this amount of capital better off? Well, unfortunately not, because of the old capital, what we're going to say is 2 of them have been broken and used up or worn out or destroyed or whatever. They no longer exist anymore. So these 2 that have been used up or worn out or broken, they are the depreciation. Okay, so that's the, I suppose, well, in a way, the reduction in the capital stock. But what we're saying here is, well, we have an increase in the capital stock. These 3 are the gross investment, and these 2 are the depreciation. So the thing is that 2 of the shovels that were created this year, some of the gross investment that was produced this year, has actually gone to replace the depreciation, the old capital goods that are broken down. And this 1 extra piece of capital is our net investment. So are we better off in terms of capital based on our gross investment, which was 3, and our depreciation, which was 2? Yes, we are. We are 1 shovel better off. Our productive capacity has increased because our factors of production, namely capital in this case, has increased. Now the next example, again, there's been no depreciation, no gross investment as of yet. These are just the shovels that existed, the capital that existed in the economy before we consider gross investment, depreciation and net investment. So again, what we're saying here is we have some new capital produced. In this case, our gross investment is 2 shovels. But like every economy, I suppose, there is some amount of capital that has been used up, worn out, broken down, and these 3 shovels here represent the depreciation. So the 2 shovels are the gross investment, the 3 shovels are the depreciation. So I think what hopefully is somewhat obvious is that all of the gross investment has gone to replace the depreciation, but we haven't produced enough gross investment to replace all of the depreciation. And in this case, our net investment is actually minus 1 shovel, minus 1 piece of capital. So our net investment in this case is negative because depreciation was greater than gross investment. Again, we start off with the scenario of 5 shovels, and what we're going to say is our gross investment is 3 shovels. And then what we're going to say is our net investment in this economy is also 3 shovels. So all of our gross investment has gone to replace the depreciation that has been used up or worn out. And in this case, our net investment is 0. So we're no better off. Now, it was great that we produced all that gross investment, those 3 shovels, but because the depreciation was so high, in this case 60% of our capital depreciated, was used up or broken down or worn out, our net investment in this case is 0. And the last thing I'm going to say in this video is that don't forget, each of the 4 factors of production, land, labour, capital and enterprise, have a specific name for the money received by the owners of those factors of production. Okay, so land was rent, labour was wage, and what we're saying here is that the reward to the owners of capital is called interest. The name that we give to the money received by the owners of capital for using their factors of production, in this case capital, is known as interest.